Order, call the.
Berglund,
Yes.
Smaller.
Yes.
Yes. Schott.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Okay, just a reminder of our core values, the city, they include strong work ethic, problem solving, community oriented. Shows professionalism and integrity, team player, accountable, good steward. How can you top that? We need a motion to approve the meeting agenda for tonight.
So be it.
Second.
Any discussion about the agenda before we call the roll? Call the roll, please.
Klein.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Berglund.
Yes.
Smaller.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, just a usual reminder to speak into your microphone, so you can be heard on somebody listening to this. With the consent agenda then. Then it includes minutes of the October 16th, 2023 regular city council meeting, and I want to thank Chuck for chairing that meeting for me. Payments for contract services include the following: Bolton Mink wastewater design in the amount of $27,982.50. Bolton and Mink GIS web application development, $5,838.50. Bolton and Mink Iowa Street stormwater wetland, $1,249. Bolton and Mink Willis Avenue overlay, $26,619.50. Bolton and Mink, excuse me, 2019 sanitary sewer SIP lining, $1,554. Bolton and Mink 2024 street repairs, HMA rehab in the amount of $1,193. Bolton and Mink downtown improvements phase 1, $27,214. Bolton and Mink general municipal engineering in the amount of $7,544. Runway 14/32 phase 2 construction, $11,624.50. And we have Dallas County Local Housing Trust Fund payment, $7,836. Total contract services payments, those should add up to $118,655. Tonight for claims, register and financials, we have $2,290,468.93. For licenses and permits, we actually have none tonight. Need a motion to approve those consent agenda items that we just went over.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion about any of those items? If not, call the roll, please.
Wally.
Yes.
Smaller.
Yes.
Berglund.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to city administrative reports, right?
All right, a couple of things going on right now. Mr. Ferrier and I just toured some projects, which he will discuss in more detail later, but they are moving a whole bunch of dirt out at the airport. And the county is out there working on the road realignment. So that project is going well. Wanted to talk about a couple of project-oriented grants that we have going. The first one is our EPA grant. We did meet with Impact 7G last week and kind of had our kickoff meeting to get stuff going. So we'll be starting the first steps of that project and start to identify some possible properties that we can look at for doing assessments on that we would want to be repurposed or revitalized in some way. The next one is that rural childcare market assessment grant. Did want to just give a little plug that the survey portion is still open, and you can access that on city website, perrya.org. So be sure, if you know people, get them to go fill that out. Just trying to get a sense of, you know, what's out there for supply and then what is the demand within the community for childcare. So that's kind of my bigger things. Anybody have any questions for me?
I got a question about the bright fields.
Yeah.
When does that go online?
Should be by the end of the year. I think.
I didn't know if they had everything written out there and then we're just the solar was the last.
Yep, solar is the last piece of that. I think they did already get the line from there to the substation put in, that main line. So now they're just doing that final installation of the solar field. So yeah, it's coming together nicely.
I have a question also, I see that they tore down or pushed in the house at Second and,
North, yep.
what's the next phase?
So next phase is that the fire department is gonna burn the contents within the basement. And then the ash in the whole basement will be hauled out to the dump. And then we will be backfilling that basement and probably seeding it so that it can grow, and we'll probably continue to mow it. So, but the cost for all that will be assessed to the property. So eventually, somebody somewhere will have to pay that.
Well, the neighbors have been asking.
Yep.
They said, well, the house is down, so
Which
we'll move along.
one step closer.
I really wish that we would have done the house to the east of that too. There's a big abandoned, big old abandoned house that's sitting there just
But
exactly.
that's not totally abandoned, I don't believe.
Oh, I think
Is that-
it is.
I think it is.
I heard that.
I'm
they
not
were
sure.
Going to.
I haven't seen a sign of anything there for ages, but.
Not for a long time.
A friend of mine used to own it, so I sold, keep an eye.
Any other questions for Span? Not, thank you. We'll move on to mayor council comments. The only thing I have is tomorrow's election day, always an important day. And I would want to encourage everyone to go out and vote tomorrow, both for the city election and the school board election. They're both very important, and we have some good candidates running, so please go out and vote tomorrow, and many happy returns. That's all I have. Council?
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you guys that aren't returning, doing the things that you guys done. Appreciate that.
Anything else for council comments?
It's you.
Great. Move on then to open forum. As usual, speakers will be asked to step up to the microphone and state their name and address for the record. Individuals speaking will be given 3 minutes to address the council on any topics that are maybe on the agenda tonight, or just anything they want to share with council. Lindsay? What do you this?
You can move it.
Lindsay Pizzuti, 1119 Warford, here tonight representing Arnold Prairie. Hopefully you all are familiar with that, but I do have some save the date cards, I can share them. But this weekend is the 13th annual Arnold Prairie Festival, so we will have 10 total venues downtown, including several city-owned buildings. So just want to share our thank you to the city council for letting us utilize those buildings. Security Bank Building will have poetry on we'll have poetry on the prairie, so there'll be poetry readings, workshops, poetry slam even, so that should be really fun. There are activities at the library, and then we'll be here at Towncraft, Carnegie Library Museum, La Poste, Mary Rose Collective, Commonwealth Provisions, and Studio on Second. So we have 55 visual artists, another 30 musicians, another 30 poets, so 100 total joining us from all across the state. We look forward to another great festival, great weather of visitors coming from all across Iowa and even beyond to shop our local shops, dine our local restaurants, and check out the festival. So if you are interested, programs should be printed, picking up tomorrow. If you go to our website, arnoldprairie.org, you can actually flip through the program already. So get a preview of the different artists that will be there. So and then on the chamber side of things, really great turnout for spectacular. Preliminary numbers, I was hearing 1,000, 1,200, just like normal. So it worked out. It's chilly, but not as chilly as the rest of the weekend. So Friday continues to be a great night for spectacular and getting businesses and organizations down. I think we had more than 50 handing out candy, which is a new record. So, and then Lighted Parade will be coming up here very soon on the 24th, day after Thanksgiving. So always something going on. Thanks.
Busy time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Art in the Prairie is always a great event, and this year looks like it's no exception. Great event. Lots of things going on, and we have that mural that people can paint on, I guess, so it's gonna be a great event.
It should be installed, actually. It should be installed tomorrow.
Okay,
And there will be there will be a reception and meet the artists on Friday at 3 p.m. at Perry Park. So we can saw the process downstairs in the gallery, come check it out on stall, meet the artists. They should get prepared for the weekend as well, so. That's it.
Cool.
And I don't know who ordered the weather, but it sounds like it's gonna be another great weather weekend as well. So, thank you. Anybody else for open forum? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Public hearing. We now have a public hearing on a proposed urban renewal plan amendment for the Perry Urban Renewal Area. The Perry City Council will now hold a public hearing on the question of amending the urban renewal plan for the Perry Urban Renewal Area, the urban area, a renewal area, in order to authorize the undertaking of new urban renewal projects in the urban renewal area, consisting of providing tax increment for financing support to Percival Scientific Incorporated and in connection with the expansion of its facilities, and B, using tax increment financing to pay for the costs of the city's LMI housing support program. This public hearing will open up at 6:11 p.m. for comments and discussion from anybody.
So anytime we do a development agreement, we have to specifically add that to our urban renewal plan. So this public hearing is talking about actually amending that urban renewal plan that gives us authority to collect tax increment financing. The next public hearing is on the specific development agreement with Percival Scientific. And then there's also actions in old business next up. So again, this is just to go through the development agreement with Percival Scientific for their expansion that completed last year sometime and is officially on the tax rolls. So
I just got a question. If we take care of this, are they required to hire more people?
so
Will that be
That's-
a later discussion.
that's more of the development agreement part.
Okay.
So
We'll wait.
we can talk about that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else to bring up during this public hearing piece? If not, this public hearing will close at 6:13 p.m. Next public hearing on proposed development agreement with Percival Scientific Incorporated. Perry City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive comments on the proposed development agreement between the city and Percival Scientific Incorporated in connection with the expansion of the company's facilities in the Perry Urban Renewal Area. Such agreement would provide for certain financial incentives in the form of incremental property tax payments to the company in a total amount of not exceeding $200,000 as authorized by section 403.9 of the Code of Iowa. This public hearing will now open at 6:16 p.m.
So to answer your question about adding employees, sometimes we put that in as requirements. If you remember, we did that with TCB companies. And one of the differences between the two is that with TCB, they were applying for the high quality jobs program, the tax credits through the state. So that's when we included those jobs. Also, the development agreement with AccuJet for their building remodel here in Perry, that talked about jobs as well. Sometime it probably with a manufacturer, it gets a little bit more difficult, one, just because of the job market, but two, they might be expanding the facility, but they might be doing it more based on efficiency and ability to expand their current line. But then also there's a certain aspect to automation that, you know, if they spend X dollars on a piece of equipment, that one piece of equipment could put out what 5 new employees could do with 1 employee. So I know that's something that Percival invested heavily in with this expansion, is a new CNC plasma cutter that loads itself. All somebody has to do is load the sheet metal with a forklift. And it cuts it, I think it even numbers everything, and so it's a really great process. Was that in August? We did our quarterly employee update was that August? July or August, or we'll call it our summer quarterly. We did our employee breakfast out at Percival Scientific, so they gave a presentation to us on what they did with their expansion and then just what they build there. So then all of our staff got to go on a tour of that and see kind of what that process was like. But they've been investing heavily in automation and growing efficiency. So that's it. It just depends on the project.
Oh,
And so
At that meeting, I point blank asked them, are you gonna hire more people? And they point blank told me probably not until we get the rest of this organization going.
Yep.
So we can put out a lot more product. They said we will not let you find off.
right.
We are always looking.
Yep.
But that's, and I can buy that, you know.
Yep.
Machines are doing a lot of that stuff that
Yeah.
men's hands don't do it.
And another part of what their business has changed in the last 5 years, probably, to where they're building more larger walk-in chambers. So where they were only able to test 1 or 2 at a time, we walked through there and there was probably like 10, 20 of these chambers set up or being set up to test all at the same time. So they were really able to expand their footprint.
I said,
Yep.
Any other discussion related to this public hearing on the proposed development agreement, with Percival Scientific? If not, the public hearing will close at 6:18 PM. And we will move on to old business. First item under old business, resolution to approve urban renewal plan amendment for the Perry Urban Renewal Area. The City of Perry held a public hearing and a consultation session with the county and school for resolution 100223B on amending the urban renewal plan for the Perry Urban Renewal Area. This resolution would approve the amendment which order to authorizes the undertaking of new urban renewal projects in the urban renewal area, consisting of providing tax increment financing support to Percival Scientific Incorporated in connection with the expansion of its facilities and using tax increment financing to pay the cost of the city's LMI housing support program. Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve resolution to approve urban renewal plan amendment for the Perry Urban Renewal Area.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
So again, this is authorizing to amend the plan. One thing I did want to talk about, in addition to Percival Scientific's development agreement, we're also developing and implementing, authorizing ourselves to start a LMI housing program. So kind of at the beginning of the conversation with Percival Scientific, at the beginning of every project, we sit down and we talk about their capital expenditure, what they expect to build. I then work with the county assessor to develop a value. Then we can create kind of a TIF cash flow analysis. And in this case, it came out to about $350,000 that would be generated, that could be generated in TIF over the available life of TIF on this project. In those initial conversations with Percival, I heard them talk a lot about having a hard time attracting some of the new employees, especially the office side, engineers, accounting staff, things like that, as well as their longer term Boone employees retire, hiring and retaining staff that might live somewhere else. So with that, we kind of came up with this concept of using a portion of their TIF as a rebate to the company like we typically would, and then a portion of that TIF set aside to help with some of the housing issues we have in Perry. So we really don't have 100% handle on what that money could be used for, but will be used for, but it could be specific grants to development. It could be, grant matching for like the down payment assistance for housing rehab. I'd like to, I think in a few months here, maybe next spring, we'll look at a housing urban development grant for lead abatement on homes. And that could be up to like $4 million. So I think there's a lot of opportunities coming up in the future to be able to use that money. But really, I got to give props to Percival for stepping out on a limb and recognizing the importance of investing in the community just as much as getting that rebate back to the company. They saw the value in putting some of that, investing some of that into the community so that their employees and future potential employees would be able to have housing, just altogether helping them attract workforce. So definitely a model that needs some fine tuning, but one that I'd really like us to move more towards with our development agreements. So, and a huge shout out to Paul and B with Percival Scientific and Gary when he was there, now Jake, former CEO and current CEO. So they've been wonderful to work with. Just a very easy process to negotiate, have conversations, and work through this whole project and development agreement. So any questions on that?
Thanks for the update. Any other discussion related to this resolution? If not, call the roll, please.
Klein,
Yes.
Walling. Yes. Kirkland.
Yes.
Lawler.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Next item under old business, resolution approving development agreement with Percival Scientific Incorporated authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. The city of Perry held a public hearing on November 6, 2023 for resolution 101623D on the proposed development agreement with Percival Scientific Incorporated. This resolution would approve such development agreement with Percival Scientific Incorporated, which will provide for certain financial incentives in the form of incremental property tax payments in a total amount not exceeding $200,000 as authorized by section 403.9 of the Code of Iowa. Approval of pay application number 12 for the runway.
Oh.
Excuse me, I'm reading too far. I need a motion to approve this one.
I make a motion, we approve development agreement with Percival Scientific Incorporated, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
Second that.
Discussion.
Kind of talked through a lot of this, but great expansion. I'm sure if you would like a tour, I could help set that up. So just let me know if you're interested in that. Maybe we can go 2x2 or something like that. But I can get you connected with staff out there.
I would like that.
I would.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
Good.
Love it.
Sounds good. Any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Lawler.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Next item on our old business, approval of pay application number 12 for the runway 1430 seconds relocation phase 1. Pay application number 12 in the amount of $54,808.77 to Windhold Excavating LLC has been received and signed by the project manager, which recommends approval. This pay application lowers the retainage for the project down to 2%. The remaining amount of retainage will be released after the contractor submits all final documentation as required by the FAA to close the open grant. Need a motion, please?
I make a motion to approval of the pay application number 12 for the runway 14/32 relocation phase 1.
I'll second.
Discussion, Matt.
So it's been alluded to, there's been a lot of activity in the last 10 days really out at the airport. Once we got past our wetlands and got our contractor back on site, there's approximately probably, I'm gonna say around 50,000 yards of dirt that's been moved in the last 10 days. So they've gotten very aggressive in getting that done. Dallas County has been working really hard to get the 150th Street relocation completed. They're moving along. They're anticipating that we'll be putting a rock surface on that road here in the next couple of weeks. So that'll be great before the snow flies.
Yeah.
The next three items you've got, the first one here is releasing retainage on phase 1. If you recall, that's the dirt for the first 4,000 feet. Doesn't include any of the paving. They're pretty much done with that process. We're working with the contractor on closing that grant out with the FAA. So as we get some of their documentation, we'll get that wrapped up and release the last 2%. The next one you've got is a pay application for phase 2, which is Manats, and includes the paving work, electrical work, everything that sits basically outside of the dirt work on that first phase of the airport. So that's come along nicely. They got a little bit of maintenance work we're gonna have them do. We're gonna have them replace some panels in the spring ahead of opening the runway up. So we're keeping track of those on our punch list for them. And then the third item we've got there for the airport is a change order that's all electrical related. As we were progressing with the airport, and looking at future plans for the airport, it became pretty apparent we needed to move the vault building a little bit, as well as some transformers and other electrical components that are tied to that. So we did work with the FAA to get that included underneath our grant. So they have already approved that. That's what you're seeing here tonight. That'll set up the airport for well into the future for any needs we'll have out of the airfield, including new weather stations, those kind of things. Moving along nicely. Unfortunately, we probably are not going to pave it until spring. We're going to push it up too close, I think, to the cold weather. And with as cold as it's looking like it's going to get as we get to Thanksgiving, we want some of that dirt to settle a little bit. So NATS is planning to mobilize back in April to finish the paving.
Is some of this dirt work that we're getting done now, is that bonus 23 stuff that was planned for early 24, or is this?
It was actually planned this year. We've been waiting on our wetlands permit to get approved, and as we got that done, we've been pretty lenient with the contractor and getting them back in, because we did delay them probably almost 12 months with the wetlands piece. So we didn't push real hard on, forcing them to come back in. They came back as early as they could from other projects. Tried to get a little bit of work with each other on that one.
Yeah.
And that's probably, at this point in the game, it's probably the best case scenario for the long-term life of the pavement of the new runway to
Settle.
to let it have a winter of freeze thaw, let it settle. Also, we had a lot of discussions. It could have been probably, if we really would have pushed, we probably could have gotten the dirt work done and the runway paved, but we wouldn't have gotten it backfilled and graded. Electrical would not have been done, and the painting would have been temporary paint. So we would have had a runway on dirt that, not that it wouldn't have been a good product, but we would not have gotten that freeze thaw on it. And then it still would not have been open until spring. So we'll get a better product, longer term, and be done sometime
Right now,
early, mid next year.
right now they're showing midsummer.
Good.
So
We have been fortunate though, with our outside projects. I don't think the weather has slowed down. We may have slowed us, but not due to the weather for our projects. We've done pretty well with the weather, so that's been good. Any further discussion? Thanks for the update. Call the roll, please.
Berglund,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Letter D, approval of pay application number 7 for runway 1432 relocation phase 2. Pay application number 7 in the amount of $58,105 to Manets Inc. for completed work on phase 2 of the runway. Relocation has been received and signed by the project manager which recommends approval. Need a motion, please?
I make a motion with approval of pay application number 7 for runway 14/32 relocation phase 2.
I will second that.
Discussion? Kind of had
A
the
lot of
discussion.
what we covered.
Mhm.
Pretty well covered already, I guess. Call the roll, please.
Walling,
Yes.
Lawler.
Yes.
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes,
Thank you. Next item, letter E, approval of change order number 2 for runway 1432 phase 2, change order number 2 for phase 2 of the relocation of runway 1432 will provide for increasing the size of the vault building from 12 foot by 12 foot to 12 foot by 15 feet to provide spacing for all NEC code interpretations, increasing the rotating beacon from medium intensity to high intensity to stand out clearly above nearby ambient lighting, providing electrical can plazas for interceptions of circuits and ease of future expansion and reroute electrical home runs back to the electrical vault. The FAA has reviewed and approved this change order for funding under the grant and recommended proceeding with the work. This action will approve change order number 2 for a net increase of $57,691. Need a motion, please?
I make a motion, we approve change order number 2 for runway 14/32 phase 2.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Any more discussion on that? If not, call, if it wasn't electric question,
Just banter.
okay. If there's no further discussion, call the roll, please.
Waller.
Yes.
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 Schott,
Yes.
Klein,
yes,
Next item, letter F, approval of pay application number 1, digester blower replacement wastewater treatment facility emergency repair. City council approved per resolution 060623H, an emergency replacement of the digester aeration blower at the wastewater treatment facility. Pay application number 01 in the amount of $122,389.92 to Woodruff Construction is for such repair, and to date, the completed work and stored materials are 84% of the total quoted amount of the repair. All documents have been reviewed and signed by the engineer and are recommended for approval. Need a motion, please?
Make a motion, we approve pay application 1 for the digester blower replacement wastewater treatment facility emergency repair.
I'll second.
Discussion. We kind of discussed this when we approved it originally. Go ahead, Matt.
The next 2 items are kind of tied together. The equipment has shown up. They've started the installation process for this. As you notice in there, it says a big portion of this is for stored materials. That's not an uncommon practice when you have a large purchase. So the contractor isn't necessarily fronting all the dollars for that. So that's what this pay request is. As they go forward, that number comes down and we get reimbursed back that amount basically. So it essentially pays for them to help purchase the equipment. So
But this was a emergency.
Right. Yeah, we've talked, this one, it's probably about 6 weeks ago. Yeah. So the old blowers were failing.
Not good.
Any further discussion or questions? Thank you. I call the roll, please.
Berglund,
Yes.
Klein,
yes,
Waller.
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Next item, letter G, approval of pay application number 29 for the wastewater treatment facility improvements. Pay application number 29 in the amount of $650,269.07 to Woodruff Construction for the construction of the wastewater treatment facility improvements. To date, total payments requested for by the contractor are 89.7% of the total amount of work to be completed under the contract. All documents have been reviewed and signed by the engineer and are recommended for approval. Need a motion, please?
I'll make a motion with approval of pay application number 29 for the wastewater treatment facility improvements.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Most of the work that's occurred in the last month has been around the nutrient reduction process at the plant, which is the newest phase that we'll be adding to that process. So if you come into the plant, you can see it's on the east side. It's new buildings that really stand out. They're pretty shiny. A lot of pipe work, processing pipe work has gone into those. So that's where most of the effort has been on the site. And probably will be for the coming 2 or 3 weeks yet. And it's essentially the piping, process piping between those facilities and the clarifiers. So they're getting closer. We're still waiting on a lot of materials and as they arrive, they get installed. So.
Okay, any further discussion or questions on the wastewater treatment facility improvements? If not, call the roll, please. Thanks, Matt.
Walling,
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes,
Moving on to new business. Resolution making council appointments for the 2024 Dallas County E911 board. Previously, the Perry Dispatch received a vote on this board as the police department housed a dispatch center. With the changes this year, the city will only be allotted 1 vote. This resolution would approve the reappointment of Police Chief Eric Vaughn as the primary member and appointment of Assistant Chief Jim Archer as an alternate member, and would allow them to vote on the E911 board for the year 2024. Need a motion, please?
make a motion to approve resolution making council appointments to the 2024 Dallas County E911 board.
I'll second that.
Discussion? You want to say anything, chief? Not really?
As stated, we got an automatic secondary vote with our dispatch center, along with a place for the city itself. Since we've removed that dispatch center, now we just get the 1 appointment. So the recommendation would be that Jim and I become the appointees and to represent the city.
Okay,
Thank you for.
thanks for your
volunteering
service.
that.
And you're excited.
Any further discussion? If not, call the roll.
When it was the dispatch, or, he was.
Yes.
Dispatch, so
Okay,
he's a return.
Yes.
there's no further discussion. Call the roll, please.
Klein.
Thanks.
Yes,
Kirkland.
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Next item. Letter B, resolution approving addition to the fire department roster. Fire Chief Grayson Hill is recommending approval of Mrs. Morgan Eppert's application to the volunteer fire department as a first responder. Chief Hill stated that Mrs. Eppert was interviewed by the officers of the department, and it is believed that she will make a good addition to the department. With her knowledge from employment with Lakeside Village as a resident assistant chief, stated that the department roster is nowhere near its capacity and is in need of first responders, therefore allowing for the addition of new personnel. Need a motion, please?
I
Make-
make a motion, we pass the resolution approving addition to the fire department roster.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So this is kind of probably 3rd or 4th person that we've added to the roster for just first responders. Previously, if somebody was on the department, they had to both be a firefighter and a first responder, or you couldn't be a first responder without being a firefighter. So kind of a change in policy from previous that we're allowing people to just be on first responders to be able to go out on medical calls and things like that. So definitely encouraging to get new people and new faces on the roster because maybe they'll catch the bug of being a firefighter as well. So
Make it easier saving lives too.
that's right.
Probably a good
Good
change.
skills.
Like, probably get more people willing to step up then. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Walling.
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein,
yes,
Thank you. As always, we want to thank Morgan Effort in this case, for stepping forward and serving on the volunteer fire department as a first responder. It's always good to get new people added and always good to have people volunteer for things. Letter C, resolution approving job description and pay range for the Housing and Development Director position in the city of Perry, Iowa. The Housing and Development Director position would serve as the department head for the Community and Economic Development Department. This position will focus on oversight of the department development of housing projects and implementation of the city's comprehensive plan. It will oversee enforcement of the city's subdivision, zoning, building, and other land use and development codes, as well as enforcing the city's property maintenance code and permitting. This position will also act as a planning and zoning administrator. This resolution would approve the full job description as attached. And part of this resolution, along with a wage range of $68,000 to $75,000. This position is restructuring and replacing the Community and Economic Development Director position. Need a motion, please?
I make a motion, we pass a resolution approving job description and pay range for the Housing and Development Director position in the city of Perry, Iowa.
And I'll second.
Discussion?
Talk to us.
So quite a bit has changed since 2019 when we initially hired our first Community and Economic Development Director, which was Mike. So we had Mike for about 2 years and we had Daniel for about 2 years. Kind of one of the reasons we started this position was a need for a little bit more help and strategy with economic development, because we weren't quite getting that from the Greater Dallas County Development Alliance. Since that time, that organization has really turned around. We have capable staff in that organization, and we're growing staff capacity in that organization. So I feel much more comfortable in where we are with support on the economic development side on those larger projects. Also in that time, I think we've learned the importance of having somebody more focused on housing and housing issues, whether it's going out and finding grants for rehab, down payment assistance, or going out and building relationships with developers to come to Perry and that sort of thing. So Mike had 30 plus years of experience in economic development and learned the planning side. And Daniel had years of experience on the planning side and was learning the economic development side. And I think having those two different backgrounds really helped me learn more about what we need out of this position. And it was much more on that planning side, working through planning, zoning, board of adjustment, code development, and then just a real strategic focus on housing development within our community. So 99% of this job description is the same, other than the title of the job, and then a few lines in the responsibilities, more focused on housing and less focused on that hard economic development side. So
I've got a question on your salary range.
Yep.
It seems to me that that's high. We've got a lot of high-end people out there that are working their tails off that aren't making 68 or 75,000. Can we drop this to start at 60,000? And maybe a high of 68 to get them started? Is that a possibility?
So we certainly could. I would say even at that 70 to 75 range, we're really just kind of, the 68 to 75 is really just kind of starting to scratch the surface at a little bit higher than an entry level planning position, anywhere close. And that's the struggle that we've had with filling this position since May, because we posted the Community and Economic Development Director job, I think in May, and had that open, and just did not see the applicants that we needed to see. So that's why we haven't filled it. until now. So that high end is still the same at 75. But I think, again, that shift from economic development attracts or speaks to a little bit different background of person. So I'm hoping that with this job description and wage range, we can get somebody that maybe is that mid-level planner that wants to jump to a director level position. And most of our director level positions are in this range. So
I'm just throwing it out. But I can
There's-
see we didn't get much for applications. so
I
let's-
mean, we,
do
yeah,
that.
we did not even get I would say applicant with enough experience
Qualified, yeah.
whatsoever with any sort of planning background. So
Even when we hired Daniel, I don't think we had a lot of applications, did we?
we had a few, but I'm also hoping that we're in a little bit different phase of hiring where maybe people are a little bit more apt to look. But it's just also, it's a hard time with interest rates the way they are. Nobody's looking to move from any mortgage that they got in the last 5 years or 3 years, 4 years. So that all plays into it. We're kind of having to compete with that metro wage on this job and hoping that we can get somebody to commute in unless they want to rent. Because we're kind of my hope with my strategy earlier was that we could find somebody like a Daniel who moved from South Dakota,
Training is-
and maybe put down some roots here, buy a house, but you're not gonna get somebody, it's gonna be much more difficult right now to get somebody to leave any sort of roots with a mortgage and make that transition. So it's just, it continues to be a difficult hiring environment when you don't have a Misty waiting right there to swoop in and take the job, right?
Yes.
So what's plan B if we have the same response to this as we have since May?
Even I've had a few people reach out in the last month or so. And again, I think it just is a little bit different tone with taking economic development out. That sort of, I have had a lot of conversations about this position. The economic development side of it kind of scares off the planners.
Right.
And then the planning side of it scares off the economic development people. So
And you think by the rebranding, that opens it up to a whole different.
yeah, I think pushing that more to the housing and planning side will help take some of that out. So,
Will this still be structured with the building inspector?
yep, and compliance.
Okay.
So, yep,
Well, I hope we can find a good qualified person.
me too. We'll
We
get,
definitely need that position,
yes, yep.
in my
I think-
experience.
Susie and Liz are tired of dealing with me in this position, so they are excited to hire this position as well. So, right? Yeah. Any other questions?
So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
The position's been a good addition. I think we were fortunate to have Mike to kick it off. Kick it
Yep.
all off for us, and Daniel did a nice job too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Mahler,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Walner.
Yes.
I missed you and then I was like, wait a minute.
They got everybody?
I think I got it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Next item, letter D, resolution approving job description and pay range for the maintenance superintendent position in the city of Perry, Iowa. The maintenance superintendent position would lead maintenance and custodial operations. This position will focus on identifying capital needs for all city facilities, assessing and addressing immediate maintenance needs and prioritizing maintenance projects. It will oversee maintenance and custodial staff, operations, processes, and ensure exceptional internal customer service. This resolution would approve the full job description as attached, and part of this resolution, along with a wage of $60,000 to $65,000. This position will continue to structure the department in an effort to create efficiencies in workflow and provide support to the Parks and Recreation Director on the maintenance side. Need a motion?
Make a motion, we pass resolution approving job description and pay raise for the maintenance superintendent position in the city of Perry, Iowa.
I'll second that.
So I think, and I hope this is one of the last shuffles that we have, but so in creating the assistant parks director job, Mike Peterson moved into that position. And then we posted just internally with our union members, just internal city staff, we posted the parks maintenance job. So Greg Haglin was in maintenance with under John, and now he has taken the parks maintenance job with Kevin and Mike Peterson. So now we've kind of restructured that parks column, we've restructured that recreation column, and now this is that final maintenance column under the Parks and Recreation Department. So creating another position on the same level as the assistant parks director, assistant rec director with the maintenance superintendent. So this is focused on kind of like that summary said, those higher level scheduling, planning projects, things like that. And then we'll have one full-time under that superintendent, one regular part-time, and then the part-time custodial staff in that column under the department. So. And the
Do we
pay
have
range,
applicants for that?
not yet. So this is a new job. So we have to create the position, and we'll get both of these posted tomorrow. And take applicants for that. So. And that pay range is in the same range as the other two positions in that department. Yep.
Good. Any further discussion or questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Berkland,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Having no further business before us tonight, we stand adjourned at 6:52 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Better charge my.
I have 6.
I'm sorry.